Women are making history in the primary race for Bronx District Attorney. Pix 11 is your election headquarters, and we are following all of the races.
That's right. For the first time in over a century, two women are vying for the Democratic nomination, and one of them is joining us this morning. Please welcome Tess Cohen. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right, so we know that the district attorney's office determines what kind of cases are prosecuted. A lot of controversy about bail reform right now. Gun violence in the city, that's a major topic, a lot of back and forth there. Why do you think you're the best candidate for this job?
Well, right now the Bronx District Attorney's Office is in crisis. You know, we have a real problem with making sure that we get the same resources in the Bronx that you see in other boroughs. You know, programs that are designed to prevent violence by giving people the resources to make different choices going forward, whether that's mental health services, job training, job placement. We don't get those same services in the Bronx under the current district attorney that we're seeing in Brooklyn and Manhattan. And then on top of that, we have a real problem with successfully prosecuting the most serious cases. You know, for example, sexual assault in the Bronx, we only get convictions in 26% of cases of sexual assault, which means 3 out of 4 victims aren't getting justice because the case against the person who harmed them is dismissed. Now, I've worked on all sides of the criminal justice system. I started out as a prosecutor prosecuting doctors who flooded our streets with oxycodone and stole tens of millions of dollars from Medicaid fraud. So I've done that work and worked closely with public health, which is, of course, important with the opioid crisis still being ongoing. And now I do criminal defense and civil rights work. I work with people who can't afford their own attorney, who've been wrongfully convicted of crimes and spent decades in prison for crimes they didn't commit, and with victims of sexual assault. So I've seen all sides, and I know that there's a much better way to bring justice to the Bronx than what we're seeing right now.
Yeah, like you said, you were with the Manhattan DA's office for 8 years, right?
Yes.
So what is your top priority then? You've covered a lot right there, but what would be your top priority?
Yes, so I think the most important thing is to make sure that we are getting all of the resources to the Bronx that it needs to thrive. So we need to make sure that we are providing the mental health services, that we are providing treatment services to people, and then also that on the flip side, we are successfully focusing our resources on the crimes that matter most. So if lower level crimes, we're sort of diverting people into resources, into diversion programs that prevent future crimes and give them services, we can focus our resources on the crimes that matter most, making sure we're solving and successfully prosecuting homicides, attempted homicides, sexual assaults, things of that nature.
What about overturning wrongful convictions?
Yeah, so that's a near and dear to me. I've done wrongful conviction work myself, and I've seen the devastation that it causes for my clients. You know, you lose decades of your life to wrongful convictions, and you can't get that back. And right now, the Bronx District Attorney's Office under DA Clark does have a conviction integrity unit, but it's very understaffed and under-resourced, like so many things are in the Bronx. And the result is people often wait years to have their case evaluated. And then on top of that, so I would absolutely make sure that we're fully resourcing that unit, but we also need to push forward legislation that's going to let us undo the wrongs that we've done in the past. You know, recently the legislature passed the Challenging Wrongful Convictions Act, and it's sitting on Governor Hochul's desk right now, and some prosecutors are trying to urge her to veto this law. But what that law would do would make it easier for people to challenge wrongful convictions, you know, and specifically for people to get lawyers that have been wrongfully convicted, and for people who've pled guilty to have the chance to prove that they're innocent. And the reason that that's so important is, I'm going to give you an example. I think a lot of your viewers remember the case of Khalif Browder. You know,
yes.
He was a teenager who was wrongfully held for nearly 2 years awaiting trial at the horrors of Rikers Island. And he was pressured to plead guilty despite his innocence. You know, the current district attorney in the Bronx, Darcel Clark, was the judge on his case for a significant portion. And according to Khalif's brother, you know, she told him, if you plead guilty today, you're going to go home. And if you don't plead guilty, you're going back to Rikers, which was a choice so many people have faced. And most people don't make the choice that Mr. Browder did. And of course, when he paid the ultimate price with his choices, right? I mean, the tragedy that happened to him is he ultimately took his own life.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you coming in
Absolutely.
to talk about your stand on everything.
Thank you so much.